Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Irma Lara said, I am Francisco Nunez. I'm a certification and compliance officer with the City of Chicago. I am specifically tasked with reviewing not all, but I review some of the applications that come in for minority or women-owned business enterprise. And we'll get started with the presentation. Give me 1 second. So we have we have 5 types of certifications. We have what we call the local certifications, and we also have what we call the federal certifications. The main difference between these two is the local certifications are guided by local city ordinance, and the federal regulations are guided by regulation that is set forth by the U.S. Department of Transportation. And one of them, the first of our local is minority-owned business enterprise. Secondly, we have women-owned business enterprise. And thirdly, businesses owned by people with disabilities. Our federal programs is disadvantaged business enterprise and airport concessions disadvantaged business enterprise. So just to go with an overview of what our department do is, the Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the City of Chicago. We work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing communication and enforcing superior business practices. Continuing what we do is what you guys are here for. We assist vendors through our website. We contract compliance with negotiated contractual and ACDBE participation goals. So if you guys are certified and part of a contract, we also monitor that whoever is using you on a contract is actually paying you what you're supposed to be getting paid, that they're following the rules that we set up for that contract. So that's one of our big and most important duties at the Department of Procurement. We also set standards for contracting participations for M&W as well as DBE and ACDBE goals. So most of our contracts will have some type of participation from our local programs. And then we assist vendors through our websites, which is www.cityofchicago.org/procurement. And then for our certifications and to apply for certification or to view any of your personal information when it comes directly from the Department of Procurement, you would use chicago.mwdbe.com. Okay, what are the benefits of being certified? First and foremost, it provides visibility. Once you are certified, your firm will be listed in a directory which is accessible to the general public. And that could be found on our website. There are minority, women, and disadvantaged person goals and City of Chicago projects and sister agencies. So like I said before, most of our contracts and most of our sister agency contracts will have some type of participation. From will require some type of participation from our minority and women-owned businesses. As it stands now, most of our contracts will require about 25% minority-owned business participation and 5% women-owned. There is a deviation with that, so it's not standard across the board. There are some contracts that unfortunately won't have any participation for one reason or another. And the DBE participation goals come separately, and it all depends on the funding, what kind of funding we're receiving, what kind of money we're receiving to pay for this contract. There are also private sector businesses that seek out certified firms. So I could give you with a surety a couple of companies like Target and Walmart. They always seek to look for minority or women-owned businesses as well because they want to meet their supplier diversity goals as well. Okay, more benefits of certification. The City of Chicago has a target market program which provides exclusive bidding to certain minority and women-owned business enterprises. This allows certified businesses to take 100% of the contract because there are no subcontractor goals associated with this project. So sometimes the city will have set-aside contracts if they feel that these contracts can easily be performed by a small business that is minority or women-owned. They will make that specific to the bid. And again, it's not every contract. We don't know how many, but those come out. Those come out whenever they are available. One thing I can tell you is that the Department of Procurement always likes to do as much as possible to include our certified firms in any type of contract. So now we're going to go a little bit into the application, and we're going to talk about, do you qualify? So what the city considers a qualifying group is if you're African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, a woman, a person with disability. Now, for instance, if you don't fit these requirements, we do have what we call the other individuals. We call other people that are socially or economically disadvantaged. What we ask them to do is they have to provide us with a social disadvantage affidavit explaining why they feel that they are disadvantaged. Once they submit that to the city, it goes through one of our boards. Our boards then decide whether they agree or they disagree, and if they agree, then we proceed with the application as normal. So just because you don't fit one of these specific groups doesn't mean you cannot apply. You would have to now just have the burden to prove that you are socially or economically disadvantaged. So the next basic requirement is you have to be a local business. What does that mean? That means that your principal place of business and the majority of your full-time staff has to be located in the counties of Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, and or Will. DBE, ACDBE, those fall under a little bit different definition. A local business for DBE, ACDBE just means that they are within the state of Illinois. Now, it's very important that you guys understand, because sometimes we have companies that are, that have satellite offices throughout the country. So just because you have a satellite office here in Chicago doesn't mean that you are automatically able to apply for certification. The majority of your full-time staff, and it has to be proven and documented, and it is your responsibility to prove it, not ours or to disprove it. Okay? So the next one would be the company has to be 51% owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, woman, person or persons with disability, or socially or economically disadvantaged individual. So what does this mean? What this means, this is one of the big categories here. So just because I'm Hispanic and somebody that normally wouldn't qualify for this program would come to me and say, hey, let's open up a company. I'm going to make you 51% owner. You can continue to work at the city, and then I'm going to run the business, and we're going to be minority owned. It doesn't work that way. I have to be specifically running that company. I have to have the control over every single aspect of the company. And if I'm not able to prove that, I will not be able to get certified. Okay? Now, continued on what you need to be qualified. MBWB, you must not be an established business. So established business, according to the city's definition, if you are a non-construction company, there are specific codes that are classified as construction, but we're not going to go into specifics on the codes. But if you are a non-construction company, your average over 3 years cannot exceed $37.74 million. So if your average over past 3 years does not exceed that, you will be fine. Now, if you are a construction code, it falls under different guidelines. It cannot exceed what we consider to be the SBA standard. So, for example, an electrical contractor, according to SBA standards, is $15 million. So if you are an electrical contractor, your gross receipts cannot be higher than $15 million over a 5-year period. So what we'll do, we'll add up the last 5 years, average them out, and if you're over 15 million, you will not qualify. For DBE, it's a little bit different. It's 22.4 million over the past 3 years, or SBA size limit, whichever is smaller. So if I'm certified as an architectural firm, and the SBA standard for that is 7.5 million, if I average 8 million, I will not qualify. Now, if I'm certified as a bridge construction company and the average is 36.5 million according to SBA standards, but I average 24 million, I will not be eligible. So it's 22.4 million or SBA standard, whichever is smaller. Now, for ACDBE, the average for all codes is 56.42 million over the past 3 years. There are some exceptions, but they're very rare, so we're not going to go into those today. So now to talk about the application process. We only accept applications that are submitted online. We no longer accept paper applications that are paper applications are no longer accepted. We reject them. We'll send them back to you. So don't even spend your time doing that. You can go online to chicago.mwdbe.com. If you've never used this website, you will be able to create a login and password. Once you create the login and password, it'll take you directly to the area where you have to submit your application. Once you submit your application, you have to also submit a $250 fee. The $250 fee only applies for the minority and women-owned business enterprise application. If you are applying for DBE or ACDBE, they are free of charge, as well as BEPD. Now the question is, what if I'm applying for MBE, for all 5 of them? You still have to pay $250. If you're applying for M and WBE only, you still have to pay $250. So it doesn't double because you're applying for both. And that unfortunately is the only thing you do have to submit in physical form. We don't have any type of method to collect the fee online, which is something that we're looking to upgrade, but we haven't done yet. And the one thing that I will recommend is submit everything that the application's asking. That is what's going to take the longest. If you submit an application that's missing information, it's going to take a long time to get it finished. What happens is normally we will send you an email or a request for information stating we're missing this information, and now you have to go out and gather all this information, submit it to us. Now we have to review it again, and we have to make sure that we don't need anything else. So whenever you do your application originally, the best advice I can give you is submit as much information as you can. It will make the process a lot easier. So what we need from you, we need your contact information. We need the type of certification you are seeking. Very important that you put the type of certification you are seeking. It is your responsibility to tell us what you want. Right at this moment, I am taking care of the city's intake process. So I'm the one that accepts the applications when I feel they're complete enough to accept. For instance, it's happened a couple of times where someone clicks, I'm a Hispanic woman or a African American woman who qualifies, won't say qualifies, but that meets the standard of a disadvantaged person, and they only click, I'm only applying for minority, or I'm only applying for a woman-owned. So it is your responsibility. It could have been that they just forgot to click on both. Not sure, but make sure you guys pay attention to that. Make sure that we ask for your ownership information, employee information, facility information, where are you doing your business, financial information, tax returns are some of the most important documents that we request for both your business and your individual tax returns. Financial statements. We need licenses for applicant and businesses. So there are certain industries that you're required to be licensed in. If you are seeking to be an engineering firm, you should be, or someone in your firm should be an a licensed engineer. Same with architecture. If you're there's some construction industries that require a type of license. For instance, off the top of my head, I can say masons, people who are bricklayers, people who are electricians, plumbers. So you will have to include all that information. If your industry or the codes that you are seeking certification in do require this special license, you will have to provide it. If you don't provide it, it's a high chance that you'll be denied the code or the application. Okay. So what else do we need? We need the experience of the owner. We need to know we need to see your resume. We need to see what type of professional associations you work for. We need to see the list of equipment that you own. We need to know what type of leases you have, whether it's a facility, equipment lease. It doesn't matter. We need to see all this. And because we're going to go back to demonstrating that you have the capacity to do this type of work. We want to make sure that you are in control of the company, that your company is independent from anybody else outside of it. We're going to want your contract information. We want to know that what type of contracts have you done in the past. This will help us understand, again, a little bit more of what you've done in the past, your experience. With the contracts, we may ask you, well, can we get the negotiated instrument that was used to pay, just to make sure that everything, the transaction was completed. We need invoices, purchase orders. All of this will help us determine your experience, your level of expertise in the field that you're seeking certification in. And again, in some it's going to be easier than others. So if I'm coming in and I want to be certified as a general management consultant, and I'm 24 years old, but I just got my MBA from Northwestern University, most likely I can be a general management consultant, right? But if I want to be a electrician, a contractor, I'm going to have to prove, well, look, here I have my licenses, I have all my equipment, I have my resume, these are all the companies I've worked for. Or maybe I'm just going to say, well, you know what? I'm not a licensed electrician, but I have two people on staff that are licensed electricians that are working for me, and they've been working for me for the past 20 years, or whatever the case may be. But all of this information is important. So everything, you're going to hear important. Sometimes people, when they're filling out an application, they say, well, which one's more important? In our application, it is all important. There are certain things that we look for to make sure that you qualify for the program. And the reason why we are so strict is not to give the firms a hard time or anything like that. We want to make sure that when you're certified, we're protecting you from other people that may want to come into this program that wouldn't otherwise qualify for it. So view it as that. It's not that we're trying to be strict or anything. We want to make sure that the people that are in the program should be in the program and is the reason why this program is alive. Okay, so now what type of companies? A lot of people ask me, well, how should I form my business? I'm a new business. I don't know how to form it. What type of documentation am I going to need? It doesn't really matter. You could be a sole proprietor. Typically, this is you doing business as yourself. Using at the end of the year, you claim it on your own personal taxes. Normally, you'll have an assumed name or something. So if you have an assumed name, you will send us the certificate. You can have a partnership. 2 or more people just get together. You will have an agreement amongst all of you. You will submit that documentation as your legal documentation that the entity actually exists. Then you have the limited partnership. which again, you might have an assumed name certificate or a certificate of limited partnership. These are all okay certifications. Now, most people will set up a corporation. Now, a corporation is treated as an entity itself and completely separate of its shareholders. It allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debt of that business. Now, this is normally what most people do, this or an LLC, which I'll cover in a few. But if you are a corporation, make sure that you're in good standings with the state of Illinois. So when you file for your articles of incorporation, every year you have to submit an annual report. Make sure you guys keep up with that, because if you guys are not in good standings with the state, you will not be able to get certified. And the city cannot wait a long time to wait for you to get in good standings. So eventually that could lead to a denial. Now, make sure that you have articles of incorporation. Make sure you keep all that paperwork, your certificate of incorporation if you have it, bylaws of your corporation, copies of all stock certificates that have been issued, and meeting minutes. Now, a lot of times people will set up a corporation and they won't do the minutes, but the minutes it's a required part of being a corporation. When you file your annual report, I believe they ask for the minutes. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is part of keeping your corporation in good standings. Now, the other form that they use is the limited liability company. This is usually a partnership that has a managing member or partner. Sometimes there is single member LLCs, which is okay as well. Now, if you're a single member LLC, you don't necessarily need to have an operating agreement. But if you're a partnership, you will definitely need to have the operating agreement. And again, you do have to file with the state to make sure you're in good standings. Now, you won't have the articles of incorporation here, but you will have the articles of organization. So it's important that that you guys have that as well. This shows that this will show that you are in control of. This will show when you created your company and your good standing, and a legal entity ready to do business with the city. Okay, so now we're going to go into an industry, which is suppliers. Okay, so now you know what to do to apply, right? There are so many industries in that people get certified in, but there are some industries that requires a few things. So, for example, if you are going to be a construction company, if you're seeking certification as a construction company, one of the requirements that we have, additional requirements other than just the application, we have to conduct a site visit. There are a few other industries where we will conduct a site visit almost 100% of the time. And that is suppliers, trucking companies, and sometimes manufacturers. Okay? Now, with suppliers, it's very important that you understand what the city defines a supplier as. So at this point, a supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. So what does that mean? It means that I have my place of business, whatever it is, and I have an inventory. I have an inventory here, and people can call me any day of the week and say, any time of day and say, hey, can you send me 500 feet of conduit? Okay, let me go in the back and see if I have 500. Well, you know what, I only have 300, which is fine, but you have an inventory. That's what a supplier is, okay? You have to be able to produce that supply right there and then because you have it in stock. You have an inventory. Now we're going to talk about a distributor. A distributor is a firm operating as a distributor are identified as having a direct relationship with the manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specified territory or region. The goods and or products are not available or sold to the general public. So if you're a distributor, you have an agreement with the manufacturer to have exclusive rights to distribute their products throughout a specific territory. So you see this a lot. And again, being a distributor is totally okay with the city. You can be certified as a supplier if you are a distributor. You know, one of the main thing, we won't get into specifics, but if you're a distributor, you're okay. Now, we're going to go to what a broker is. Firms acting as brokers are not eligible for certification as an MB or WB. A broker will not be certified as a MB or WB. As a DB and ACDBE, you can be certified as a broker, but not as an MB or WB. So what we define a broker is a person or entity that fills orders by purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than out of its own existing inventory and provides no substantial services other than acting as a conduit between his or her supplier and his or her customer is a broker. So for instance, now we're going to go back to the same scenario. Somebody calls me and says, hey, Francisco, do you have 500 feet of conduit? You're like, okay, hold on, give me a second. Home Depot, do you have 500 foot of conduit that you can deliver straight to my customer? Home Depot, like, yes. I pay them 300 and then my customer pays me 350. That's a broker. We do not certify brokers. Just and we like to stress this a lot because it's one of the industries where we get most people don't know that when people are brokers, sometimes they see themselves as suppliers. So it's very important that we let the general public know before they spend their time applying for certification as a broker, and then they realize that they didn't qualify for the program, okay? Okay, so what happens after the application is submitted? The process can take 60 to 90 days from the day we receive all documents. So what does that mean, receiving all documents? So you submit your application, it comes to me, part of the intake group. I look for certain documents to make sure that they're there. If I see those documents are there, I'll accept it. Once I accept it, within a week or two, it will be assigned to an officer. Now, the officer will have a bunch of certifications that they have to do themselves. So they'll have an order, and they'll put it in the order where they're going to review your application. Now, once the officer starts reviewing your application, they're going to check to see if they have all the information that they need. So they may still require you to send more information in. So technically, the 60 to 90 days doesn't necessarily start until all applications are full. We have all documents for these applications. Okay? Now, your application is checked to make sure, like I said, that we have all documentations. And then the documents are actually thoroughly audited. We make sure that we look at everything. And like I said earlier, you may receive a site visit. If you receive a site visit, somebody will contact you to see what the best time to get a hold of you is. And if approved, your certification is valid for 5 years. At the 5-year mark, you will have to file a recertification, okay? Okay, so then we also have what we currently call an expedited process. Nobody in my department, no certification officer likes this word expedited because it really is not expedited. What it is, it's saying that you're already certified with the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, so we are accepting their certification saying they've already reviewed your application and they've approved you. So now what we want to review is we want limited information. So instead of submitting a list that's this big, you have to submit a list that's that big. So it doesn't really make it expedited. It makes it expedited for you because it requires less time on your behalf to submit this application. And it doesn't make it easier for you to be certified. You can still be denied if you submit an outside application. Maintaining certification. So I said every 5 years you have to submit a recertification application. But every single year you have to submit what we call a no change affidavit. The no change affidavit, there are no fees, so you don't have to submit a fee every year. It's a $250 fee at the beginning, then a no change affidavit for the 4 years following your certification. During those 4 years, you're reporting whether there was a change or not. If there was no changes, it's very simple. Takes 15 minutes, 10 minutes. No change, no change, no change, no change. If it's a DBE affidavit, no change affidavit, you will have to provide your most recent corporate tax returns and a signed affidavit that's notarized. If you're a construction company, you will have to submit a personal net worth statement every year as well with your no change affidavit. If you're neither one of them, you just have to submit the no change affidavit, no additional documents, unless there are changes. But we also have a provision that you must notify the Certification and Compliance Division regarding organizational changes, business name changes, and ownership changes within 10 days of the change. So if, for instance, I own this company 51%, and all of a sudden I sell 20% of my share to someone else, I have to notify the city because now the city has to reevaluate, do they still fit the guidelines? If they still fit the guidelines, that's fine. But if they don't, then we would remove certification. Now, if you don't do that, it's worse. If the city finds out that there's certain things that happened that we were not notified of, there are other actions that can happen. So I always tell everybody, it's not worth hiding anything. It's better to just come clean because I'm not going to lie, 99% of the times when there's changes, I mean, there's nothing wrong with changes. It's just, you just have to let us know. Now, let's say you got certified I got certified as an electrician. But then all of a sudden, I have someone that comes to me and says, oh man, you're an electrician, you can run wire. You can just run fiber optics or whatnot, which is a different code. I'm like, hey, I can't do that. And they put me on a couple contracts. I demonstrate I can do the work. So what do I do now, right? You can submit what we call an expansion request. You're going to be able to submit the request on your letterhead, on your company letterhead, and you're going to just let us know that you want to include these new codes because you learned how to do it or you were doing it and you just didn't put it in. You're going to provide all the evidence, insurance, contracts, showing us that you can do the work. And we'll review it, and if we agree with you, we will send you an approval letter that is revised that will have your new codes and your old codes. So no need to worry about that. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that our sister agencies also accept our certification. Our sister agencies consist of Chicago Public Schools, Cook County. Okay, so Cook County now, if anybody here is certified with Cook County, you no longer have to seek certification with the city. The city will accept Cook County certification as if it was ours. And Cook County will accept our certification as if it was theirs. So if you're certified with one, you do not have to be certified with the other. So then we have the Park District, Public Building Commission, CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, Chicago Transit Authority, CTA, city colleges, the Water Reclamation District. So all of these sister agencies accept our certification or Cook County's. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons applications are denied. So there's questions of ownership and control. There just was something there that triggered us to believe that you may not have been in control of the company. So again, Francisco works full-time at the city, but then runs an electrical contractor. He has no experience as an electrician, but his 49% partner, who doesn't qualify for the program, has been an electrician since he was 18, right? I'm not in control. So those are, that's just a very simple, basic example. But sometimes they get a little bit more creative. There's an unclear description of critical functions and who is responsible. So one of the main things when you're applying for certification is to really understand what you're doing. A lot of times people will want to will seek certification. They know what they do, but they just don't know how to classify it. So I'll give you, to give you an example, I have someone that that does building inspections, and amongst those inspections, he did a water test, a high pressure water test, where to make sure that there was no leaking in any part of the structure, whether it was windows, foundation, the roof. It didn't matter, right? But so he sought out engineering services. Well, he's not an engineer, so he would have been denied. Luckily, for some reason, we were able to talk to him, or we reached out to him and asked him, well, what exactly do you do? And together we were able to figure out, okay, well, this is really what you do here. So, it was building inspections with additional information, right? But we can't always do that. And sometimes we will not know exactly what you're talking about, so it can lead to a denial. So be sure that you understand this. Be sure that if you are seeking certification, once you know who your certification officer is, make sure you call and introduce yourself. Say, look, listen, if you have any questions, give me a call. That way, communication is key here. Okay. The company cannot substantiate where startup funds and extension capital came from. So that's another thing that we look at. We want to see where that money came from when you started your business. So, Francisco Nunez started his electrician business and got into the electrical union with what money? Oh, well, his partner paid for everything, the 49% owner. He's paid for all the startup costs, everything. Another indicator that, is it really my company, right? We want to see outside secondary employment. Where are you dedicating your time? Now, now outside employment doesn't disqualify you. So if you have another job, you can have another job. But the problem is it all depends on your industry standards. So if you're a construction company, normally construction companies operate 7 to 4, right? But you work for a different construction company, you're their superintendent. What time are you dedicating to your own company? Now, if I'm a management consultant or an IT consultant, for instance, and during the day I work for Google or Microsoft, and then at night I go home and I work on my business, I meet my clients, that's understandable. It's within standards. So, trucking. If you work for someone else as a trucker, but then you're trying to say that you work for your company after you're done working for your other job, and you're really driving 16 hours a day, every day, probably not, right? So that's another big reason why people get denied certification. The company is not located within the specified area, 6-county region. So again, make sure that you guys really understand that if that is the case for your business. Point of contact did not respond to a request for information in a timely manner. So I'm reviewing your application and I need more information. I send you an email or a notification through our system saying, hey, I'm missing this information. If you have any questions, please call me for clarification. Give me 15 days. 15 days come by, you don't respond. like, hey, this is the second time I'm reaching out to you. This is information that I need. I'll give you another 15 days. If after those 30 days I still don't hear anything, I can deny you. Me personally, most of the time I'll give a phone call, I'll send another email before I deny. But it's not. That's just what I do personally. It does not mean that we don't have to do that. No one has to do that. Okay, so because at the end of the day, it is your responsibility. It is your certification, and we can only review what you give us, and if we're missing information, there's nothing we can do about that. Inconsistencies with the applicant firm and among various documents. So we're talking about contracts. We ask for your contracts. So Nunez Electrical. And then we're looking at the contract, like, oh, Francisco Electrical. Like, wait, who's Francisco? Electrical, this is Nunez. Or Nunez Incorporated Electrical is my company. But then on my documents, I have Nunez Electrical LLC. Wait, these are two different entities. So it happens. So make sure that you guys have everything organized. The problem with contracts. I've received applications where I get contracts, and it's like $1 million contract to do an excavating job. And I'm like, okay, can I get the canceled check or the instrument that was used to pay you? Oh, I sent you that by accident. So just don't even, if you have a contract, make sure that you submit it and you submit all supporting documents to it. Okay. Required documents. Okay, so there are required documents, but we understand that sometimes those required documents will not be available for a good reason. If you can explain a good reason for us, we'll accept it. So for construction firms, we want 5 years of tax returns. But I started my company 2 years ago. So of course, only 2 years of tax returns will exist. Understandable. But if you don't provide us with that information, then, there's ways to figure that out. But, I'm not going to, it is your responsibility to provide that explanation. And like I said, tax returns must be signed or must have an affidavit that you e-filed, or the e-filing page there. So those are the main reasons why people get denied, but I'm sure that none of you guys will be denied because you guys have everything together and nothing is going to be a problem. If you have any questions, please contact us. Call us at 312-744-4900, and we would be, if you dial 1, it'll be our certification team. Secondly, if you're in City Hall, come upstairs and visit us. We're in room 806. We take walk-ins. That's not a problem. Write us. Doesn't matter. However you need to get a hold of us, please get a hold of us. We're here to assist you. That's the only reason why we're here. There's no other reason. We want to make sure that we can help you guys, succeed and, get to where you guys want to get. But, by being able to offer these programs, that's the best that we can do to help, okay? So now we'll go into the question section. She's going to come with the microphone so you guys can talk in the microphone. And if anybody's viewing us, they'll be able to hear us.
Is there a time frame for the company existence, like a minimum amount of time?
No, there is no minimum amount of time. So if I incorporate yesterday and I have all my documents and I can prove that I am in control of this company, that's not a problem. I can apply the next day, in theory, right? But obviously, it all depends again on your company. You can apply the next day. It does not have to be. It does not have to be a minimum amount of time in business. Nothing like that.
Okay, and one more. You mentioned licenses, right? Okay, what about y'all look at like union cards or whatever? So,
No, you don't. You do not have to be part of a union to be a certified firm. That's a business choice that you guys will do on your own. There's no you don't have to be in the union. So we don't look at none of that. The licenses are only for the industry. So, for instance, the city of Chicago, if you're going to do concrete, you have to have a concrete license. If you're going to do masonry, you have to have a mason license. If you're going to do electricity, you have to have an electricity license. But there are others like carpentry, for instance. There's no special licenses for carpentry. So it's just having, your city license is enough.
If you are buying an existing franchise and the franchise owner is not one of the qualifying, like maybe, can you immediately after purchasing that franchise apply for certification, and is their tax returns required, or do you start?
Okay. So just so you know, franchising, when you're certifying a franchise, it's a little bit more because we how can I explain this? Most people that buy a franchise are probably most likely are in the restaurant business. I'm not sure if that's the case here, but when you're in a franchise, you're paying money to get this franchise. So we will need the agreements. But just to answer your question, no, we don't need anything of the old business. Of the old owner, we don't need nothing of his. We just need your information. And like for instance, in this case, we're going to need you're going to have very, very, very well documented how you acquired the business. That makes it easier. Because if you don't have it well documented how you acquired this business, it's very difficult because unfortunately, a lot of times what happens is, again, a non-qualifying owner cannot be certified, so they make a deal with someone and they put everything under their name or whatnot, and then all of a sudden, look, we qualify. Well, how did you qualify? How much did you pay him? Was it fair market value? Was it this? Was it that? So make sure that whenever you do, make sure it's very well documented.
One other question.
Yeah.
Does it help that if, it is an existing franchise or chain franchise and other franchise owners within that same industry has already got the certification within the city? Every certification is self-standing, so it will not help you, but at least it gives you peace of mind that someone in the city has already dealt with a situation like yours. So that does help. Because when it's a unique situation, I mean, even for us, sometimes we get some stuff, we're like, whoa, hold on. And then we have to sit and confer amongst each other, like, hey, this, and then we, look into the options and everything. But knowing that someone in a very similar situation as yours is already certified, the only good thing, it gives you peace of mind because you know that someone in your situation has gone through it already. But it does not guarantee or help or anything like that. Okay.
For a new business, let's say that this is going to be your first step, getting certified, so you can start bidding as a DB or MB, and until you get the certification, then you start moving ahead with everything else. So I'm imagining that there's a lot of things are going to be missing, like from corporation, like tax returns and all that. How can you?
Well, you know what, and that happens. That happens sometimes. Sometimes, for instance, a business will form or exist only because they are seeking contracts from the city or from federal government, whatever they want to do. Now, with that, and it's okay if there's missing information. So again, if you just started the company and you have no contracts, we're going to understand that. But we are going to have to rely heavily on your experience. And what have you done in the past? How did you pay for this business? What's the purpose? But over time, like that, say for instance, now I have my company 3 years, and I'm still waiting for that opportunity for a government contract, and you're not doing anything else on the side, that could turn into what we call a viability issue. Are you really a business that's in operation? If you're really not a business that's in operation, there's no point to be certified. And actually, our regulations talk about viability. If you're not a business that is operating, you cannot be certified. But that comes over time. But if you're able to let us know, like, look, this year I submitted 170 bids. Here they are. They're all right here. And then we're like, okay, well, I guess he is bidding. He's just not getting it. I mean, we can't penalize you for that either. So it all depends on, but yes, if you're a new company, you might be missing a lot of information, and that's totally okay as long as you document it and let us know why. Okay?
Are there net worth requirements?
Okay, yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, there's personal net worth requirements. Actually, maybe what we'll do for next time, we'll add a slide on this, on personal net worth. So personal net worth requirements, because we talk about gross receipts and size standards, but there are personal net worth requirements for DBE and ACDBE. Those are regulated by, again, the Department of Transportation, the U.S. Department of Transportation. The personal net worth requirement for that is 1.3 million. 1.3 million, approximately $1.3 million. So if you're over 1.3 million, you do not qualify for the program. Now for the MBE and WBE program, it only applies to construction companies. If your personal net worth is over 2.4 million, 2.37 million, I don't have the exact figures, but it's about 2.37 million. If you're over that, then you don't qualify. If you are a non-construction company, there's no limits. Well, I'm sure there is, but we haven't met them yet.
What does that mean, personal net worth?
Personal net worth is it's an analysis that we use to see how much money you have. So for instance, if you have $3 million in the bank cash, you don't qualify to be a construction company or a DBE, ACDBE. But there's other questions that are asked. How much is in your 401k? How much do you own in buildings? How much do you own in, do you have any interest in other companies? So yeah, I have a stake in these companies. How much do you have in stocks and bonds? How much do you have? So all of that goes into your personal net worth. What kind of car do you drive? Personal household. So all of that is we have a form that you'll fill out and it'll ask you all the questions. I mean, obviously we'll deduct all the liabilities as well.
If there's a couple of owners, like say two are women, one's a guy, but the guy's like maybe 15% of the company, and we've been subbing for like other engineering firms, because I do construction testing, does that still qualify as contract?
Okay, so the question is, pretty much what you're asking is, two women, one guy, two women are probably 45 each, the guy's 10%. Yeah.
One's like an actuary, she runs like the bookkeeping and the business, and she
Right.
got the business head. That didn't sound right.
No, right.
But,
Yeah, gotcha.
I do a lot of the field work, because I have about 30
Right.
certifications in my name. So I'm
Right.
the one who does a lot of the field work, and I consult with
Right.
them. And
So
they're
yeah.
engineers, so-
Right, so I mean, it's a preliminary determination. I can't give you a, yeah. So yes.
She asked me that question, I'm like, well, you take care.
Right,
I
so.
told her, but she's,
Right, so we've had situations where we have three owners. They're all 33%. Two of them are minority men who qualify for the program. One of them is a man that does not qualify for the program. Okay, so between the two that are 33%, can they demonstrate that they are indeed the people that are really in charge of this company? Now, granted, one of them too have to be the president or the CEO, the highest position in. So the non-qualifying member cannot be the highest position in the company. So that's what we want to make sure.
she's the one who's the actuary, the one with the business.
Right.
She's the president, I'm the business manager.
Yeah.
He's just, he's
Right.
the engineer who helps out. And
Right. So it all depends, but the majority, you at least qualify for the the over 51%. So we have time for one more question, and then after that, I'll stick around if you guys have more questions.
Well, I was just going to ask if we have more specific questions to our own situation, can we just go up to Suite 806 right now?
Oh, well, I'll be here. I'll be here after this is done, and I'll be able to answer any questions you guys have. Now, again, thank you guys very much for coming. I hope that this was informative, and I hope to see all of your applications come through our city website. Yes.
Just a reminder, this workshop, the PowerPoint will be accessible. Also have a lot of our will be able to, and now he'll be here for any other follow-up questions. Thank you.